Hey everyone, this is Dr. Bafa, and are you ready to watch a 17-year-old outlift the majority of adult men in this world? If so, get ready for Karlos Nasar World Record Clean and Jerk Warm-Up. This is from the 2021 World Championships in Uzbekistan, 81 kilo class, and we've got Bulgaria's Karlos Nasar coming out here. Born in 2004, he has just finished up the snatch portion of the competition, started warming up for the clean and jerk. He takes 70 kilos, does a little casual triple here. And in the snatch phase, things went pretty well. He went 2 for 3, 163 on his opener, 166 on his second, and then missed 169 on his third. That gave him silver in the snatch going into the clean and jerk. It also gave him a new youth and junior world record in the snatch. First place going in the snatch was Moldova's Marin Robu, who did 168. Bronze was Iran's Mir Mustafa Javadi. So things are looking good for Nasar because he is a clean and jerk specialist, but he didn't get to walk away with it quite as well. He walked away with it, let's be honest. He set a world record, but he had a moment where Javadi actually does pull ahead. Let's get back to his warm-up here. 110. So takes this for a single, and that's going to be it. All told, he does 8 warm-ups in the clean and jerk, which I think is actually kind of a lot, maybe, for an athlete. It's not uncommon to see top athletes do fewer than that. You know, we see some athletes do 5 or 6, essentially. You already warm from the clean and jerk. But I think the plan was actually to do 7 warm-ups, maybe even fewer, but they had to delay a little bit because things were moving more slowly than I imagined they anticipated. 130, very easy, obviously, for somebody who is clean and jerking over 200 kilos. So he went 70, 110, 130, taking 150 now, which, again, for someone who's clean and jerking, he did 210 in training in this year leading up to this competition. 20 kilo jump, 30 to 50 seems like a small jump, but clearly this is what works for him. This is what they do. Watch the technique. As it gets heavier, we're going to see that the technique, I think, changes a little bit. Nasar is obviously a clean and jerk specialist, okay? But I would say for most people who are not Karlos Nasar, which is everyone, you wouldn't necessarily want to emulate his clean technique. I think his jerk technique is much more standard, you might say. Clean technique, a bit unconventional, but it works for him. 18 minutes out. He's moving pretty quickly here. So he's been going about every 2 minutes or so. Takes 170. You're going to start to see what I'm talking about with his technique. A little bit of what you might call a scoop on that 170. It becomes more pronounced as the weight gets heavier. So 170, they're going to load 180. At this point, he has a 4-minute wait. So they're starting to slow things down. Competition is proceeding, in the background, essentially. He's going to be one of the last athletes to come out for opening and then second and third attempts. 180 kilos. Watch what the knees do once the bar passes the knees, okay? So keep an eye on the knees as the bar gets into the hips. And you can see it there. They come forward pretty aggressively. Jerk, elbows up, and a pretty standard jerk, I would say. 14 minutes out, they go to 190 kilos, and now he waits even longer. So he's about 12 minutes out right now. It's unclear if they actually know he's got 12 minutes until it will be his attempt. 10 minutes out now, they're loading 190 kilos for him, and he's going to keep waiting, and it will be a couple more minutes before he actually, another minute before he actually comes out for this 190. So he's 9 minutes out, taking 190, which I think was probably the intended last warm-up. And we'll see why in just a minute. As we're watching this 190, keep an eye on, again, the knees, the hips off the floor, and the knees when the bar comes into the hips. They sort of scoop up a little bit, but look at this jerk. Elbows up. We can talk about elbows up, elbows out, elbows down in the jerk, whatever you're doing, as long as they're not moving necessarily, that's okay. Here it is in slow motion. You can see a little bit more what I'm talking about. So he drives the knees back very aggressively. Hips start low, but then they come up. And then the angle of the knee doesn't change too much while he opens the back and then shoves the knees under the bar and almost sort of scoops it up before ripping himself down under it very quickly. And then look at the jerk. Elbows stay pretty high and almost move up just a tiny bit to keep the torso upright. Very powerful. Actually has a pretty deep dip, I think, compared to a lot of athletes. But again, makes it work for him, and it's repeatable. That's what's most important. The old Bulgarian tornado here, very common among Eastern European nations, a little fanning with the towel, and then wrapped over to keep warm. They drop the weight down now. They leave 120 kilos on. My guess is in case, they have to take more, which they will. Here is, in the orange pants here, Bulgaria's Ivan Ivanov. You can see him. He was a great lifter. He's doing 175 kilos in this little video. And he was, at that time, would have been a 56 kilo lifter, although it's training, so probably weighed a little bit more, if we're honest. I think this is where they realize, Karlos, we have a few more minutes than we realized. We're going to take, what are we going to do? And at this point, if you've trained to do this sort of thing, you are ready. You should be able to take 80, 85, 90% every few minutes if you're in good shape. So they go to 190 kilos again. And now he's 3 minutes out, which I actually think is quite close to your opening attempt, especially when you're opening so heavy. But again, they train for this, they prepare for this. Jerk, a little bit shakier maybe, but it doesn't matter. That's his last warm-up. And at this point, grabs the towel, heads out for his opening attempts. 200 kilos on the bar, first attempt. This is the heaviest opening attempt in this class by 7 kilos. The next heaviest attempt was, for the opener, was Javadi's 193 kilos on his opener. So here is Nasar, first attempt, 200 kilos. We'll get to see it again in slow motion to see that scoop a little more closely. And there's the jerk. Solid opener. Let's watch that again in slow motion. You can see what I'm referring to in the clean. So knees are pretty far over the bar. Hips are low. But he raises the hips, pushes the knees back. Note the angle of the knee hits right there. And then it stays constant as he opens the back up and then drives the knees under the bar. It becomes even more pronounced on subsequent attempts. But he makes sure to give that bar vertical momentum. He's not humping it out. He's driving through the floor, even though the knees are forward, and moving it up while he moves under the bar. Very strong leg, squats up with ease, relative ease for 200 kilos. And then look at how high the elbows are. Even raises them just a tiny bit, like we saw in the warm-up. Keeping that chest upright, torso upright, very straight, vertical, dip down, and drive up. So with that attempt, he gets a 366 kilo total. 166, 200 in the clean and jerk. We are now going to see that he has 7 minutes. They don't come back in between first and second attempts. Here are some of the other attempts. Rodriguez of Colombia, 200 kilos. He gives it a crack. He did 195. Unable to complete the jerk. So Armenia's Harutlinian comes out. And unfortunately, 201 gets the clean. No, in the jerk. 191 is his best. Korea's Kim Woo-jae, 202 kilos on the bar. Also can't hold on. That bar was close to that thigh, dropping it. Javadi, 204 kilos. This is his third attempt. He did 163 in the snatch. Gets the clean. What do we think? Dollar bet, make or miss. Holds on. That gives him a 367 kilo total. 6 for 6 days. So at this point, Javadi backflipping his way ahead of Nasar by 1 kilo. So he comes out 205. Second attempt. Watch the clean. Even more aggressive, I think. A little bit of a hop forward. Tiny bit of wobble in that jerk. Not even wobble, but just a little shakier maybe. But with that, launches himself into the lead solidly. Let's watch this clean again. Knees pretty far over the bar again. Hips come up, knees drive back. He ends up with the torso, not quite parallel to the ground, but close, we might say, and then opens up the torso while the knees wedge under the bar. And there you can see, look at how straight the legs are. It's so important. Any kind of movement of the hips back and forth, right? Not ideal, but if you can do it in a way that still results in driving into the ground and driving the bar up, it can work if you can make it repeatable and consistent. Dip is going to be the same, but watch how deep he dips. He's pretty deep, but he's straight, drives straight up, and then locks out overhead. Again, with that, moves back into the lead overall in the total. He is now world champion. He's got just a minute. Obviously, they're not going to run back to sit here for a minute. He's the only athlete with any attempts left. So, 2:08. This will be a new world record, third attempt. Doesn't waste any time. Maybe the best clean of the three. And then watch the jerk. Boom. Really solid jerk as well. With that, new world record youth, junior, and senior world record clean and jerk. And youth and junior world record in snatch and total. Here's that third attempt. Same exact thing. Keeps the bar extremely close the whole time. So close, it's rubbing along the knee sleeves. Shifts the knees under. Looks like he almost sits back, but then drives the legs. Look at that extension, how straight it is, and keeps the wrist over the bar. He's moving that bar vertically. It's not being humped out. It's not looping or anything. And he doesn't, unlike on the second where he hopped forward a little bit, more or less stays in the same place. And then the jerk, same thing. Straight down. Weight is over the midfoot base of support. Drives under it. And really nice stability and recovery. Let's take a look at all three side by side. And first we'll see real speed, then we'll see slow motion. But you can see on that third one, he has no time. I mean, he's following himself, of course, so he really has to sort of come out, grab it, get set, and then goes. Look at the strength in the legs. 200, 205, 208, each almost identical. Gives himself just another beat, I would say, on the 208 in between the clean and the jerk. Not a ton of time, and it's well within, I would say, what he's probably normally experiencing. Here are all three clean side by side. You can see how consistent he is technically. Again, unconventional, idiosyncratic technique, driving the knees under the bar, sort of scooping like that, but big extension, straight with the legs. Second one you see hops forward just a tiny bit. There's a lot of mass in front of him, right? Think of the unit of the body and the barbell. Lots of mass in front of him because it's 205, well over double body weight. But he makes it work. And the third one, he corrects that, jerks, all three. Pretty similar depth. And then driving, waits until he's finished to drive with the legs, until he really starts to bring the elbows down and finish pushing under with the arms. And there you have it. Excellent 3 for 3 day in the clean and jerk. And now, a little bonus footage for you. Liu Xiaoshun's 2019 207 world record clean and jerk versus Karlos Nasar's 208 from 2021. We'll watch these play out in real time first, just to see them side by side. Liu with the squat jerk, Nasar obviously with the split. And a nice little celebration there. We're going to watch them side by side in slow motion, of course. And we won't go too in-depth in terms of their technical differences. I think what's really important is despite how different they are in technique, maybe even in body type and style, They do certain things right, certain things that you sort of can't change, I would say. They keep the bar close the whole time. Knees come back and get out of the way. Wrists over the bar. And they pull long into the pull and pull under. Catch it with upright torsos. Stand up will sync them up again for the jerk in this case. And you can see in the jerk, same thing. Different styles, but some things you can't change. Straight dip down, followed by a straight drive up and under the weight. Lou, of course, pushes the weight further back. He's supporting the weight a little bit more behind the head. Nasar, it sort of ends up over the head and then goes a little behind. There you have it. 2 great world record lifts. One by Lou Xiaojun at 35, one by Nasar at 17. Hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to watch him move some huge weights. As always, thank you to all our supporters on Patreon. If you want to see more like this, check us out on Patreon. And otherwise, we'll see you next time.